Good evening, everybody. Today is March 1st, 2021, and this is a Moscow City Council regular meeting. Sandra.
I'd like to invite anyone who would like to join us in the pledge to stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Sandra. Okay, we will move right on to the consent agenda, folks.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Art and a second by Gina to approve the consent agenda as it is. I'll start with you, Ann.
Aye.
Maureen.
Aye.
Randy.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
And Art.
Aye.
Okay, with that, we will move on to the next item. Item number 2, staff recognition report. Bill Belknap, do we have anything this evening, sir?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Okay, mayor's appointments. I do have one appointment and for council's consideration. Jonathan Rowell, Farmers Market Commission, expiration 12/31 of 2022, and he's a specialty vendor rep.
I would move approval of that appointee nomination.
Second.
Okay, motion by Art and a second by Maureen to approve Jonathan. I'll start with Gina.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Randy.
Aye.
Maureen.
Aye.
Art.
Aye.
And Ann.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan is, I don't think, here with us this evening. Okay. I always like to get a chance whenever we have commission, folks that are on commissions, because we have literally hundreds of them. I think it's 140 some. But anyway, we certainly appreciate the volunteerism for anybody that's on our commissions, and we appreciate that. So my gratitude and thanks to Jonathan. With that, we will move on to item number 4, which is a public comment and mayor's response period. We open it up for 15 minutes for folks that can talk to us and let us know what's on their mind, as long as it is not on this evening's agenda. If it is on this evening's agenda, you'll have a chance to speak. Otherwise, or something that's in front of planning and zoning or the Board of Adjustment, please come up. We'll give you 3 minutes. Tell us your name and address.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Kenton Bird, 517 East B Street in Moscow, and I am making my annual visit to the council chambers with students from my Reporting 2 class at the University of Idaho who are learning about local government, and one of the students is here in the chamber with us this evening. The others are watching remotely, but with the same expectations that they produce a news story based on what happens this evening. Just wanted to introduce myself, let you know that this might be reaching out to you individually after the meeting as they look for follow-ups, fresh angles, ways of telling the story differently. So I know that it's probably not as enlightening to be watching at home as it is to be here participating, but we are nonetheless grateful to your leadership, your service, and your cooperation as the students learn the basics. And who knows, one of them might be sitting here covering the council in a couple of years after they graduate. So thanks very much.
Well, thank you, Ken, and we always look forward to your annual trek with us, and very well one of those journalism students may be a mayor or a counselor someday in their livelihood, as well as endeavors take them through their course of life and professionalism. But anyway, good to see you, Kenton, and welcome. And anybody that's in that class, of course, can get a hold of myself or any of these counselors. We love to get a chance to talk to folks, especially professionals that are getting into the journalism area. So thank you very much. Okay, others that would like to come up? Okay, well.
Mr. Mayor, did you say that if something's on the agenda, I have a chance to speak then?
Yes, you may.
Okay, then I'll just sit down.
Okay. You'll get a chance, ma'am. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item number 5, which is a Citizen Commission Report on Planning and Zoning. We've got Mike Ray with us this evening. Good evening, Mike. You have the podium, sir.
Evening, Your Honor, council members. Everybody see that all right? Well, I'm here tonight to introduce Rob Parrish. Rob's the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Was vice chair for a number of years and was recently elected chair this year, and just in time for the annual report to council. So
Oh, good.
with that, I'll turn that over to Rob.
And can everybody hear me okay?
I hear you just fine, Rob, and
Great.
congratulations.
Mayor Lambert and councilors, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. And before we start our presentation, a couple of preliminary comments. One is to tell you how much we appreciate Mike Ray and his work, his expertise, an invaluable asset, and the city is most fortunate to have somebody like Mike at the helm of the planning division. The other is to acknowledge our immediate past chair, Wendy McClure, who has helped us through a number of interesting and technically difficult and sometimes controversial issues. Wendy has been just absolutely phenomenal leader, and we really appreciate all that she has done. Last thing I would like to say is our appreciation to the city for the way you have allowed us to move forward conducting our meetings with Zoom. As you can see, obviously, I'm on Zoom tonight. Planning and Zoning has done a lot of meetings via Zoom, and for those of us that have concerns about being in a more public environment, this has really given us an opportunity to continue to conduct our meetings. It's just been a really wonderful asset for us. So thank you for the efforts that you've done. I suspect that we'll be continuing this for a while yet, but it has been a really incredible way for us to continue to do business in an effective way. So with that, Mike and I haven't practiced this. I don't know where we're going to push buttons, but we'll start there. Dennis Wilson and I were installed as chair and vice chair in January. And we've got this incredible group of people, Joel, Wendy, and Nels, long-serving members of the commission. They're our historians, help us to keep issues in context and perspective, and it's been absolutely wonderful to have them continuing with us. Scott, Victoria, Mike, and Rich are more recently with us for the last, in case, few years, and the group just brings a wonderful diversity of thoughts, ideas, opinions, and the city is fortunate to have a group like this to be on a commission that has such an important effect as planning and zoning. So with that, we'll begin presentation. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of our recent projects, some of the work that we're doing. For the last couple of years, we've been working on this subdivision code, and it's an amendment to the existing subdivision code, but it gave us an opportunity to relocate it to the zoning code, which made a lot more sense. It also gave us an opportunity to look at some new issues. I mean, there's the usual things, lot line adjustments, divisions, plats, but one of the things that came out of the conversations the last couple of years is maybe a new approach to looking at subdivisions, and we were able to incorporate a new option for developers in addition to traditional development. We term it the conservation subdivision option, and it's just another way that we can provide I think some more enlightened ideas to development in Moscow. And Mike, if you could move to the next slide, we'll show you an example. This is what we're terming the conservation subdivision. This isn't absolute, but it's just an example, but it really works with topography. It works to provide conservation. It gives the developers a little bit more latitude in the way that they work with a subdivision, as opposed to, if Mike, you go to the next slide, you can see a more traditional development where it's alley-centric and more of a grid development. Lot sizes are more uniform. So we were, as a commission, really excited about being able to introduce this concept of a conservation subdivision as just another alternative. We're not dictating or directing which way a developer should go, but it gives them an option if they want to do that. So we're continuing to receive some input on this, and we expect that in the not too distant future, this is going to come to a public hearing before the commission, and at least within the next month, and then after that forwarded to council. So that has been really interesting. And this is again where some of the expertise that we have on the commission, Wendy, for example, has done a lot of work in conservation subdivisions. Joel and Nels have had a lot of not just interest, but knowledge about these kinds of issues. And so we were able to bring something to the code amendment that I think is really positive for the community. So with that, Mike, we'll go to the next one. This is a subject that I know is near and dear to your hearts. Obviously, a challenging and controversial at times issues, the amending the telecommunications code for 5G. We took a lot of public input. We were very constrained, as you were, with the federal regulations that we were dealing with. We really worked hard to make sure that we considered safety issues, aesthetics. Obviously, we looked at a number of examples from other communities, both large and small, some local, some not local, but we really tried to incorporate best practices within what we could do on this. Obviously that came before council and was approved in November, and that was an issue that was particularly challenging to the commission. So next issue, we're currently working on an amendment to the sign code. One of the things, and you may have seen this in some of the other work that we've done, is that we're moving a lot of the narrative codes to a table format. And that is really a much more intuitive process for people that are using the code. And we're really pleased with the efforts. We'll continue to see some additional move into that type of format. The sign code amendment was driven by a Supreme Court case, Reed versus Town of Gilbert, Arizona. It talked about content-based restrictions and regulations. If you have a sleepless night, I would say go ahead and Google Reed v. Town of Gilbert, and you can get all the issues about what content-based means. But suffice it to say, our code needed to have revisions. We have done that, and we've been working on that for some time. Mike recently was working with the Laketown Board of Realtors, and they are pleased. They've provided some positive input for that. And so we're going to be soon advancing that to a public hearing before planning and zoning. So the last item, this is obviously a brief overview, and we'll have an opportunity for some questions. We recently received a request from the Arts Department about the possibility of amending our code to allow lighting of public art. The code, as it was written currently, did not allow for that. There were a lot of concerns about lighting particularly having to do with dark sky. Certainly there's some efficiency issues that we wanted to deal with. And we were trying to understand more about the issue as we tackled it. Obviously, we were dealing with legal issues as well as the visual issues. And one of our commission members, Scott Gropp, offered to set up a demonstration for us so that we could really see what the impacts were of different lighting. We had concerns about, it's all up lighting, but we had concerns about lumens and about kelvins for the color, about being able to shadow, or not shadow, but have some way that we could not have the light visible. As you see on the left side there, if you have an exposed light, it's bright. That one also happened to have a very bright Kelvin rating as well as a significant lumen rating. And so then we looked at what would happen when you have the lighting so that it's not exposed, and probably fewer lumens, and a much, I think the color on the one on the right is more like 3,000 to 3,500 Kelvin. And these are incredibly efficient lights. And you know, keep in mind that this isn't how it is going to actually be, but it's a demonstration of one part of it. But we were all really pleased about how it enhanced this particular art. And this is one, what really started the conversation was the one on North Main, which was designed to have lighting, but of course couldn't because of the code. So after looking at this, we were really pleased with what we saw out there and about the opportunities. And we were having a demonstration was just absolutely fabulous. And it, as you looked at it in context, you could see that it really didn't have an impact on dark skies. It was really enhancing of the art. And so we were pretty enthused about where we were going with this. So we decided to move forward with this, and we're going to have a public hearing at our next planning and zoning meeting to bring this, and I think it's going to be great. I think you're going to be really pleased when you see us be able to, or the city be able to, light some of its public art. It just was stunning to watch that. So with that, that's the end of any formal presentation. Mike and I certainly would welcome any questions you might have.
Well, Rob, thank you very much for the nice introduction that you gave us on this lighting and the different things in front of the planning and zoning. And congratulations on being the new chair. That always has some challenges, as you will discover as you go along. But it's good to see that you and then Dennis Wilson being the vice chair. And, of course, Wendy gave many years as the chair and did a wonderful job. So we're all looking forward to it. Earlier we had somebody on our Farmers Market Commission that was brought to light tonight, we voted on, and the person's in, and so I made a comment about how absolutely important volunteers such as yourself, Rob, is for this community, and we've got so many great volunteers doing these things, many hours involved, and so it's sure appreciated for myself as the mayor as well as these council members up here. Council, anybody have a comment for Rob? And or Mike, or
Just a comment for the commission in general, and that's that they deserve congratulations. I was on planning and zoning for 10 years and know how much work goes into these things, and casting their eyes about and finding manipulations and updates and edits to city code is a great thing to be doing, because it makes all of our lives so much easier. And pertinent to the uplighting of the public artwork, good for keeping the dark skies in mind. And that's really important given the pain that was gone through to get the dark skies ordinance through in the first place. But good job all the way around to keep an eye on those things and find issues that need taken care of, as well as dealing with the court cases and things like that, which we have to keep up with to keep ourselves legal. So planning and zoning does a great job, brings a lot of their work in summary to us to consider and to pass an ordinance or a resolution with. And their work is very much appreciated for that, because it ain't easy.
Other
I
councilors?
think
have-
Ann has a question.
Ann?
Not a question, just also a comment, which is just to continue to chime on what Art has shared. I really appreciate the move from narrative to table format. I've heard from multiple citizens that that's really helpful in terms of looking up information. And so I just appreciate that you all did a lot of work for some of the stuff that's already come to us and are continuing to look at other places where you can make that more efficient. So thank you for your work on that.
Thanks, Aaron.
Rob, I've got one more comment. Art had talked about he being on planning and zoning for 10 years. I was on planning and zoning for 5. And one of your more senior people, Joel Hamilton, he spoke about dark nights back 20 years ago when I was on planning and zoning. So it's an amazing thing. Thank you guys for all the work you do. We're very much appreciated. Thank you, Michael.
You know, I appreciate the comment, and Joel was instrumental in helping us through the dark sky issue, because he understands that probably better than most of us. And he was with us at our demonstration, and it really, I can't tell you what a difference it made for all of us having that visual impact and seeing how that would work with everything. So we've just got such a great group, and I appreciate all of your comments about it. It's an amazing commission, amazing group of people, and it has its challenges, but it has tremendous rewards as well.
Thank you, Rob. You take care now. Thank you, Michael. Okay, well, with that, we will move on to item number 6, Latah County Mamba Proposed Mountain Bike Path Development in Virgil Phillips Farm Park. We got Dwight Curtis with us this evening. Dwight, hello.
Good evening. Let's see if I can get this to work. Did that show up?
Yes.
Here we go, yes.
There we go. Okay, well, thank you. And so what we have here is pretty straightforward, but it's an exciting proposal. The Latah County Parks and Recreation and the Moscow Area Mountain Bike Association, which is MAMBA, they're requesting approval to construct a bike path, a mountain bike path, through a section of the Phillips Farm Park. In your packet, there's a map of that, a couple of maps, and I have online here, we have Andy Grant, he's the director of the Latah County Parks and Rec, and we also have John Wenz, who is the director of MAMBA. So if you get any detailed questions at the end here, they are here and available. In your packets was quite an extensive breakdown by MAMBA with their proposal, and I mean, just about any question you could ever ask was answered in there. This trail is it's being promoted, or will be promoted, as a beginner trail. And it builds all kinds of things for the new people. And this is important if you've ever been out on the trails where you might have somebody that doesn't know etiquette and things like that. So very important, builds the confidence. It's easily accessible, it's multi-use, and that portion of the park, I had it outlined in yellow. That's a relatively unused portion of the park, so it's not going to interfere with much of anything else. It's very low impact, it's just a trail, and no cost to the city. The city's reviewed this, city staff, we have no issues with this proposal, and we recommend its approval. The Parks and Recreation Commission reviewed this, and they recommended council approval, and on February 8th, the Administrative Committee reviewed this and recommended council approval. And let's see here. You guys can see this, and a great artistic job here. But in general, that's where the actual trail will be constructed. And with that, we can turn it over to questions. Like I said, Andy and John are here as well.
Thank you, Dwight. You know, before we, counselors get a weigh in on this, I'll ask for if there's any public comment that would like to come up and speak on this, please come on up, ma'am. And you can tell us your name and your address, and we'll give you 3 minutes, and you can tell us what is on your mind.
Okay. My name is Diana Armstrong,
Hi, Diana.
and I live at 116 West Morton, and I am so happy to be here. I got my second shot today.
All
I am
right.
feeling so good. I am so happy to be in a council meeting because I just love this stuff. Kind of a governance nerd.
Yeah?
But anyway, I came to say that I just think this is the greatest idea. So I'm a former cyclist. I hate to say old. I'm a former cyclist. But now I hike, and I hike over there all the time or on Moscow Mountain. And this is just such a great idea. I am so happy to see this. And bicyclists need, especially beginning or intermediate, they need some safe places like that. And they can go out there and go up and down, and if they fall down, it's not going to hurt themselves. And I so wish something like this was here when my kids were growing up. You know, they had to take their chances out on the street, and they did. They did. You know, I don't know about these days. There was less traffic when they were riding their bikes all over town, but this is just so great. So that's all I want to say. I'm just really happy to be here. This is a great idea. I'm also a member of Mamba. So, you know, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Sure.
Oh, I do have one thing I want to say. Yes. Okay, I think it's really important to have a sign out there that says no motorized vehicles anywhere in the park. I mean, I think it could have one up at the top. You all know that parking lot up at the top? Because that is such a temptation to a person on a dirt bike. Dirt bikes are fine in their own world, but they shouldn't be up there. They can come in on that parking lot and go right off the side of that hill, and they can go down to some of the others. Anyway, the more and more people you have out there, you know, eventually there could be some problems with motorized trail bikes.
Okay.
And so I think a sign like, you know, there's a good one up on top of Paradise Ridge, and just a big one that says no motorized vehicles on or off trails anywhere in Phillips Farm, maybe at the bottom and at the top.
Okay.
So that's my one suggestion.
Maureen, you had a question for?
I just wanted to remind her about the June
Oh, that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I was
All
saying.
right.
I'm too excited. I'm too happy to be here.
Okay, well, thank you,
Yeah,
Diana.
thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak on this? Okay, Dwight, I'm gonna, do you have an answer for Mrs. Armstrong on what she talked about as far as having a sign up, no motorized dirt bikes and that type of thing on the farm?
If it's all right, Mayor, I'm gonna, since Laketown County manages this, I'll turn this over to Andy Grant.
That was kind of muffled, Dwight. I was having a hard time hearing you. What'd you say? But I know you said something about the county, but
I don't even have a mask on. So Andy Grant is the director of Laketown County Parks and Recreation, and they manage this park. So I'm gonna turn this question over to him to answer
okay,
that.
very good. Thank you.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it is against county ordinance to have motorized vehicles off of the regular roads and parking lots. And I can't recall if the sign at Virgil Phillips mentions that or not. However, in the time we've managed it, we haven't really had any issues with motorized vehicles going off-road. Maybe occasionally, but not very far. But if it does become an issue, we are quick to put up the non-motorized signs as needed. You know, we don't want to have too many signs and, you know, have it unattractive, but if we need signs, we will definitely install them.
Okay, Andy, Maureen's got a question for you.
So I have a question. Why do we have to wait until it becomes a problem to put a sign up there?
Good question.
Look, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if the sign has that listed on there already. It may. However, you can get to a point where you just have too many signs everywhere. We do normally keep up the general signs like dogs on a leash, stuff like that. However, if we've never really had a problem with people driving motorcycles and stuff like that, we just don't have a need to put up the sign yet.
Andy, do you mind if I add to that?
Is that Dwight? Who's this?
No, this is John Wenz, president of Mamba.
Okay, John, thank you.
I just wanted to add that the common, or the signage that we would have on the trail, at the beginning of the trail, we commonly have a no motorized vehicle sticker, and those signs that we use are the brown flexible signs like you see at national parks and whatnot. So fairly unobtrusive, and they would be at the entrance of the trail. And the other thing to keep in mind too is these aren't trails that are going to be very attractive for bikers, just because they like long, flowy trails that are going to be longer before there's a turn. There could always be a butt head out there, but there will be that signage that will be present that's unobtrusive.
Thank you for your comments, John. Okay, Council. Brandy, do you have it?
Yeah, I have a question that actually I had asked you, Dwight, and you answered it, but I just wanted everyone else to hear the answer as well. And that was, did the Friends of Virgil Phillips Farm chime in on their opinion about this?
Yes, they did. It's in the minutes and unanimously recommended for approval.
Did everybody understand?
Can you interpret that maybe, Brandy?
Yeah, somebody.
Dwight, you're just a little muffled, so I'm going to...
I can answer that.
Okay, thank you.
Mamba did approach Friends of Virgil Phillips Farm first, and they met in one of their meetings, and they had a discussion about any concerns they had, but they seemed like their concerns would be met, so they voted on it, and they did vote to move the project forward to be considered by the Laketown County Parks Board.
Okay.
So they did approve of the project.
Okay. Thank you, John. I guess that was John that spoke.
And
That was Andy.
this is Brandy again, and as far as with the maps, this proposed trail is not in the location that the existing hiking trails are in. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Yeah, and we can't see, and I don't know if you have a comment you want to make or not, so I'm just going to ask if you had any comments on this.
I do have a couple questions
Okay.
too, and I think I have two, with the second being somewhat predicated on the first. So what maintenance do you expect will be needed to be performed annually? And in the seemingly unlikely event that Mamba was dissolved or wasn't able to perform those, would the responsibility fall to the county?
I could address first.
Go
Andy,
ahead,
first
John.
I'll just address the maintenance. And the most likely maintenance first is building sustainable trails, so hopefully there's minimal maintenance as far as to the tread. The major maintenance that may be needed would be cutting down the grass along the sides of the trail. And then we have right now a trail stewards program where people adopt trails across the whole mountain and include that there for someone that would come and do that maintenance.
Great.
And then Andy, what happens if we disappear?
Basically, it looks like a fairly low impact trail. We would probably just seed grass over the trail. Although, actually, if Mamba disappeared, people would probably still want to use the trail, so we would probably just keep it going.
Thank you both. I'm really excited about it, about having an entry-level trail in town. I think it'll be a great addition to our system.
Gina?
I'm sitting here watching the people on the screen here tonight collaborate like bandits. Yay, look at us. What a good example. And we're bringing such an asset to our community. This is great in my opinion. So if I can, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion.
Can I ask a
Sandra.
I do have a
wants-
question.
Okay,
Sorry,
go ahead,
I-
Sandra.
absolutely.
And then we'll come back to you, Gina.
Okay. So I am in favor of this, but the question that does come to my mind is, I worry a little bit about the mountain biking group going off the Mama Trail and into the areas where people are hiking with their dogs and little ones, because we're seeing that in a lot of places in the area. And so I'm hoping that there will be, I mean, I know there's not anyone up there with their little whistle, right? That's just not going to happen. But I hope there's also some education out there to remind those folks that this is a great asset for our community, but please don't run the hikers off their trails either.
Yeah, and that's, a key piece of this is, for the beginners, is, again, some unobtrusive signage that speaks to trail etiquette. So that's who has the right of way and whatnot. Also, some simple signs, again, at the hiking trails, just letting people know that bikes aren't allowed. The other piece to it, too, is the design and having it just under a mile long. And so it's very unlikely that you're going to have more advanced bikers showing up to Phillips Farm to get in a ride, because that one trail isn't going to be really long enough to make it worth the trip. And then the other trails that are currently there are not ones that are really attractive for riding either, just because of the way that they currently are built. So don't really anticipate that being a problem.
Great, thank you.
Now, Gina, I'll go back to you.
I'm just still really impressed with this. So I move that we approve Laketown County to construct a mountain bike path as per their submitted plan in Virgil Phillips Farm Park.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Gina and a second by Sandra to approve the Laketown County to construct a mountain bike path as per their submitted plan in Virgil Phillips Farm Park. I'll start the roll with Ann.
Aye.
Maureen.
Aye.
Brandy.
Aye.
Art.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
And Gina.
Aye.
Okay, plan is accepted. Thank you very much, folks, for the presentation on that. We will move on to item number 7, which is the Farmers Market 2021 Handbook. And we have Amanda going with us this evening. Hello, Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. Just give me one moment while I situate myself here. Either I gained some height or the podium has been adjusted. I feel like I don't have to. Where are we? Oh. There was a step stool in the break room and it has since disappeared, and it's made my life very difficult during lunchtime. Good evening, everyone. Before you this evening is the 2021 Moscow Farmers Market Handbook, which was presented to the Public Works and Finance Committee on February 22nd. This is our 4th iteration of the handbook, which started in 2018. And it was recommended for approval, and in your packet is a very lengthy resolution that has the new handbook, but just go through a really brief presentation, and then I'll stand for questions. So the Farmers Market Commission has several working groups and subcommittees. The first one, quote-unquote first one, that we get activated every season is the Policy Subcommittee. They usually start just as market's ending, and go into the off-season, and they review the handbook, make sure that we're removing redundancies, making sure that it's in alignment with our strategic plan, and discussing any revisions and additions. So the subcommittee met 4 times between October 30th and December 16th, and then presented to the commission twice, one at their December 1st meeting, and then the final one at January 5th for the commission to review. If there's any issues or points of contention, the commission will generally have the subcommittee go back and tackle the problem at hand. But the commission voted on January 5th to have the policies move forward to legal. So legal has reviewed the document in front of you and the resolution. And luckily, we only have 2 policies for consideration. The first one is under market operating policies, just in regards to refunds. This went from a pretty simple line that says no refunds are issued to a little bit lengthier paragraph based on some things that we experienced this past season with public safety and weather events. This was the first time where we actually had to consider moving the market off of Main Street due to early snow in October. Luckily, we didn't have to do that. Mother Nature cooperated, kept it to under 4 inches so we could Streets is able to get out there, plow the streets for us in time for market on October 24th. So we just wanted to make it very clear to vendors that they had a course of action if a market had been canceled for something beyond our control, per city administration. So went from one-liner to a paragraph. Another policy that was looked at was the generator policy. We looked at it, sliced it and diced it every way we could imagine, but ultimately we didn't make any changes. So generators are still not allowed in the market. Electricity is very limited, but there is a long-term plan with the downtown revitalization. So we just really want to encourage folks to use maybe portable battery units to help power their needs, or just think outside the box as far as using propane, which is what most of our prepared food vendors, if they do need something to warm stuff up, they typically go the propane route. And then lastly, we have the vendor operating policy. This is a brand new item. The policy subcommittee tried to tackle this in their 2019 to 2020 subcommittee, and they just weren't ready for it yet, but we were able to tackle it. And what we're seeing more is as vendors become successful in the market, they are developing their own merchandise. Oh, thank you. Apparently, I forgot to share my screen. Oh, no. And this is why we have a digital media specialist keeping us on track. And, okay, thanks, Corey. So vendor merchandise, we're starting to see more vendors want to have their own merchandise. Sisters Cookies, Loves Kombucha, a few other folks. Basically, we want to share in the vendor's success. If they are promoting their business, able to grow and start offering those things, their success is our success. But we wanted to put some caveats on this, which is we didn't want necessarily someone who came into the market selling cookies slowly start to transition to just offering their merchandise. So we want to make sure that we're not turning into a flea market, and that we're continuing to sort of limit some things. So we put some sideboards on it since it's the first time we're ever doing this policy, so we can evaluate it appropriately. But basically they get their merchandise approved. They can have one item on display at a time per market day, and hopefully generate more business for themselves.
Amanda?
Yes.
So when that says one type of approved merchandise?
So if you, Brandy, have a coffee mug, a hat, and a sweatshirt, you tell me that in the beginning of the season, and then you get to choose on market day which one you're going to display. You can have the other ones on hand, but you're only displaying one item at a time. So you'll definitely get to cycle throughout the course of the season.
But could a vendor say, I'm going to have clothing as my type of merchandise and have t-shirts and sweatshirts and pajama pants?
They would have to be specific. They would have to say the types of clothing that they're going to have, and then they could display that one t-shirt at market. And there has been some questions from the commission. Could a vendor have a list of all their items? Maybe not necessarily the physical item, and that's something that we can all certainly be working with vendors through this season to see how that works out with them.
Thanks.
And I'm just gonna slowly back up for the people watching at home, since I forgot to share my screen. I'll just work backwards so they can at least see some of these slides. It's still not sharing? Oh no. What did I do? All right, I'm going to step out of the way, let the professionals handle this.
Oops.
I just sent Ann a PDF of the presentation so she can see it.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that, Ann, and anyone else
No
that's
worries.
watching at
I
home.
have really good notes from last time too. We're good.
But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that folks may have for the resolution.
Maureen?
This is not related to what you presented on, but something that came up right today. Are we thinking, is there a problem with our payment program? Because I know that at least one vendor is no longer using our payment system.
What do you mean by payment program? The tier system?
No, the payment system for the drive-through.
Oh, our local line with Motor and Moscow Farmers Market. So at this point in time, we are in suspension because the market has ended. And what will happen is in April, we'll actually open up Motor in a month early. And then vendors will pay $20 for that system. So the city takes on that cost, and then we pass that cost on through an invoice to the vendors. Some vendors who tried it out last year, it didn't work for them. But if they wanted to continue to use that system when the market was no longer happening, they just had to contact local line. And they had a vendor subscription that they had to sign up for.
Oh, great. Okay, I just wanted to make sure there was nothing wrong with our program and that this is just a little hiatus there and.
Yes, a hiatus would be a great way to put it.
Thank you, Amanda. Ann, did you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the public want to comment by chance? Okay, well, Brandy.
One other thing just to ask about, because I imagine that you may discuss this each year, it's within the handbook, and the year I was the liaison, so I know some of the background, but did you talk at all this year in the development of the handbook about the speaker space and if there could be any other location for that or why it's staying where it is?
We did not talk about that this year. Part of that is having to do with COVID and the expansion of the downtown sidewalk program. So as some of you are aware, Bloom expanded and our speaker space had decreased. Most people weren't coming out to use it anyways, but that is certainly something that I think long-term. We do have some data as far as the number of groups that use that space to kind of track. And I do have some ideas on the staff side of how we might be able to still offer that space and manage it well, but there's been no discussion about moving it.
Other questions? All right.
No questions, but I would make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the Moscow Farmers Market 2021 Handbook.
Second.
Maureen had her hand up before you said that.
That's perfect.
Okay, we have a motion by Art and a second by Maureen to approve the resolution adopting the Moscow Farmers Market 2021 Handbook. I'll start the roll with you, Ann.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Art.
Aye.
Brandy.
Aye.
And Maureen.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much for that nice presentation, Amanda. Okay, item number 7. Or actually, item number 8, I'm sorry. Haddock Building Remodel Project and Bid Award. We've got Bill Belknap with us this evening that will present with this. Welcome, Bill, and you have the podium, sir.
Adjust that up a little bit. Thank you, Your Honor. As the council is aware, the city acquired the Haddock Building located at 504 South Washington Street last fall. Initially, when the city passed the bond measure to construct the new police station, remodel the existing police station for other office use, and then do remodeling to the man building, that was our initial plan, was to remodel the existing police station at an estimated cost of $1.5 million to accommodate the engineering, planning, building safety, and grants group that would be moving into that space due to inadequate office spaces within their current location. The city was approached by Gritman Medical Center that owned the Haddock building at that time, asking if we had any interest in acquiring the building. It was just slightly smaller than the existing police station on 4th Street, but a much better office building with on-site parking, actual windows covering most of the building walls, and was going to meet our needs much better. After completing our due diligence, we did negotiate the purchase of that property last fall, and we've been working on remodel designs. Because that building was used as a multi-tenant facility in the past, it is cut up in multiple individual spaces, so we do need to reconfigure it to accommodate the needs of the individual departments, construct a permits counter. We'll have the public services for the building safety and engineering divisions, and overall bring the building up for our individual use. The project was advertised for bid beginning January 2nd, with bid opening on February 11th. The low bid was received from K&G Construction from Lewiston, Idaho, at $311,000 even for the base bid. We did have a bid alternate that was to replace an existing interior staircase that has a non-compliant guardrail and handrail. That bid alternate came in at $48,000, and we think it really is just more than we would wish to spend on that component. With further review, we think it is possible to remove the existing handrail and just replace the handrail system at quite a bit less expense than $48,000. So that's what we'd like to pursue. So staff's recommendation this evening is to accept the low bid from K&G Construction and award the contract in the bid amount of $311,000 and authorize staff approval of construction change orders in amount not to exceed 10% of the contract amount. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
All right. Just to explore what we saw recently at the Public Works and Finance Committee, dealing with the roof and the HVAC units, could you explore that a little bit as to when that might come up and how we're going to deal with them?
Sure. Doing our due diligence on the building, we did identify that 2 of the 3 heating and air conditioning units are original equipment with the building and are in excess of 30 years old and at end of life, as well as the roof was in poor condition and needed replacement. So we did negotiate the purchase price down with Gripman to account for those additional repairs. The remodel work was kind of going to be either a winter or very early spring project, so we separated the interior remodel work from the roof replacement and rooftop unit replacements. So those, as identified in the staff report, are additional components to the project, and we had budgeted $474,000 for the remodel to include both interior remodel, the re-roof, and the HVAC replacements, as well as some furnishings. So we're well within the adopted budget amount. But the roof replacement and the HVAC replacement will happen later this summer once weather conditions improve.
Okay, well, thank you, Bill. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come on up and give us your name and address, and we will give you 3 minutes. You can address this. Haddock Building.
Good evening, Kenton Bird, 517 East B again, and just a couple of questions that I think Mr. Belknap can probably answer. How many city employees are envisioned to move to the Haddock Building once the remodel is complete? Is there additional capacity for other employees, that is room to grow in the future? And third, I know that the city eventually intends to sell the old police station, but what are the future plans for the Paul Mann building? So 3 questions, current, future, and what happens to the old buildings?
Thank you, Ken. We'll let Bill answer those.
Happy to answer that. So we have 21 employees will be moving to the Haddock Building currently. And we were really largely opening up the space, especially upstairs and some downstairs. And so we'll just be largely furniture systems and cubicles, so we'll have the flexibility to adjust and to flex. I think it'd be fairly reasonable to expect we could fit 4 to 6 additional employees in that space before it might become a little bit more cramped. But really, we have spent a fair amount of time staffing up our engineering staff so we could do more in-house designs and save money on consultant services. We'll be completing that with the 1 additional proposed staff engineer in the upcoming fiscal year. From there, we really don't anticipate adding any staff, at least within our groups, for probably at least a good 5 to 10 years at this point in time. But 21 right now probably could easily accommodate another 4 to 6. The existing Mann building, we will be moving the information system staff that are currently out at the Egan Youth Center because that was the only space that was available. So they will be moving over to the Mann building. We do have some minor alterations that are programmed for that building. We have both the south and the west masonry walls have fairly significant cracking that's happening on the CMU walls. So we want to do some stabilization work. That building also has a roof that's at end of life. And so we anticipate working on designs for that work this year, construction either this late summer, early fall, or potentially next year, depending upon the timing getting the design complete. So we will have, I think at the current time, we'll have human resources and information systems and media specialist position in the Mann building. So we'll move another, I think, 8 or 9 employees over to the Mann building. The police station itself, we're currently, the existing police station on 4th Street, we have an appraisal underway right now. We understand it was the council's intent and desire to dispose of that property. And so we are completing that appraisal to establish the fair market value. Any real property the city owns to dispose either has to go to a public auction or it can be conveyed to another public entity without auction. So we are working on establishing their fair market value, and we'll bring that to the council with a report and recommendation for disposal later this year.
Thank you, Bill.
Ken, did I miss anything? Okay.
Thank you, Ken. You got a question, Brandy?
So, Bill, following along Kenton's line here, so once the IS is moved from Egan, then the space that's then open in Egan will be used for youth?
I'm assuming they'll be used for youth programming. I haven't been involved in
Okay.
that aspect of it. And certainly Dwight, I'm sure, will review what potential additional youth programming. It's kind of, I think they have about 5 employees shoved into a corner that used to
Yeah.
be the service counter there, in what would be the kind of northwest corner of the building. I'm not sure what programming they would look at adding to the Egan Center in that space, but certainly that'll free up space in the youth center, and it'll make a much more quiet work environment for the IS staff.
Not planning on moving some other city staff into that space?
No.
It did give us Park and Rec some other options. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and comment? Hang on a second, Art. Out there.
One more quick question.
Come on up here, Kent, so everybody can see you from home, too.
Does the city intend to maintain the name of the Haddock building? And if so, would there be a way to, I'm thinking that Paul Mann's long association as a faculty member in engineering was appropriate for when the engineering staff was in what was then the Department of Employment building. Just wondering, are we going to keep the Haddock name, or is the city open to options for renaming it to recognize somebody who might have made contributions to the city in other ways?
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Very good question, and I personally have not placed any thought to that yet. So I'm sure that is a open discussion for the council as we move forward, as we approach city occupancy. So with this project, I probably should have mentioned, we estimate 90 days of construction. We expect construction to begin mid to late March. And so that probably means move-in time in early July is kind of our estimate. So that certainly gives us some time to think through that and decide whether we wish to rename and christen the building.
Art?
Yeah, I just got to thinking while we were discussing the employee dominoes. Does this mean we can pull the people back from the annex across 3rd Street from here and move them into city-owned facilities instead of renting?
Correct. We have 3 engineering staff, our 2 grant staff, as well as a digital media specialist that are over in the annex that we're currently leasing. So once these projects are complete and all the dominoes have fallen, we will no longer need to lease that building. I think our lease runs through the end of this calendar year.
So they were included in the 21 that you were talking about?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill. Other questions for Bill?
Well, I'll do it.
Okay, Art.
So I'd move to accept the low bid from K&G Construction Incorporated, award the contract for the bid amount of $311,000, and authorize staff approval of construction change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the contract amount.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Art and a second by Gina to accept the low bid from K&G Construction, Inc., award the contract for the bid amount of $311,000 and authorize staff approval of construction change orders in an amount not to exceed 10% of the contract amount. Brandy, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have one more thing that I just thought of too. You mentioned about not recommending the add alternate for the staircase, and that you're thinking it can be completed with just a railing change, so whatever that cost would be is not a part of this.
Correct. I think that will fall within the 10% change order
Okay.
authorization, so that'd be $31,000 roughly on this project. Handrails probably maybe 10. So at this point in time, I think the cost of the handrail replacement would be covered within that change order authorization. If not, staff will bring it back forward to the council for your consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, Brandy, with that, I will start to roll with you.
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Gina?
Aye.
Sandra?
Aye.
Art?
Aye.
And Ann?
Aye.
Okay, very good, thank you, and that will move on. That was the end of our regular agenda, but for the first time in ages, I don't even know the last time I asked for council reports, but we're gonna have council reports starting tonight and moving forward, and I'll start with you, Art, council president.
Yeah, thank you. I was cautioned not to go back beyond the first of the year with reports.
That's correct.
Which would have led to a rather lengthy discourse. But Farmers Market was presented by Amanda earlier, and in addition to the handbook that was discussed tonight, there's also been discussion of what the radius for Farmers Market should be, currently 200 air miles, and they're still considering that as to how far a vendor would want to travel to come in to participate in the market. Let's see, the other items were covered. Within the fire department area, they work away on fundraising and determining their current and future needs. And as the city grows to the east, the north, the fire department is very much looking at the potential for another station, as well as expanding into land, if they can find it, for new training facilities, as the training facilities at Station 2 are not as adequate as they'd like. They're also looking into adopting software to help update standard operating procedure manuals that would conform to both local and national legal standards. And so they're going to be moving on that with this next budget year to acquire this software to help maintain their operating facilities. The Urban Renewal Agency, as has been noted recently in the paper, has moved forward with finalizing, but not yet final, the design for 6th and Jackson at long last to provide for mixed-use development, which is to say business below, residences above. On that corner is a gateway to Legacy Crossing, Hello Walk, and access to the university. We've also accepted purchase of one of the lots remaining out at Alturas. And so with the selling of that lot, the money will be returned to the taxing entities in the county, which is county, city, school district, cemetery district, and so on. So everybody gets their piece of that pie proportionate to their amount of the usual taxing. So there were 2 bidders on that particular plot of land out at Alturas. The unsuccessful bidder has indicated that he'd like to go forward and perhaps put a bid in on another one. And if we can get those lots sold at Alturas, so much the better for everyone, and get them into some kind of productive use.
Good. Thank you, Art. Sandra?
Yep, let's see. I just had our first CEDA meeting of the year, and the top news really out of that is they are looking for a new executive director. Christine Fry is retiring, and so they're hoping to get that taken care of, which that's always crazy and hard and exciting. The Pathways Commission, I've only been to one of those meetings because of another council issue, and so the big thing right there really seems to be they're looking at naming opportunities for different things along all of the different pathways, quite honestly. There was someone had a question about they wanted to make a significant naming opportunity, and they didn't quite know how to go about that. So they're looking at that, and they're also looking at protocols on how to do that, working with different groups in the city on how to figure out those protocols. So that will be fun to see how that turns out. The 1912 Center, they're at a point where they're looking at naming a couple of their rooms, especially for some of their larger donors. So that should be coming out. When I say soon, I never know what soon means in the COVID world. But I'm going to just say soon and leave that up to everyone else to figure out in their COVID world what that means. But soon, that will be coming out about the names there. Because of council meetings and holidays, I have yet to be at a Sustainable Environment Commission meeting because they meet on Tuesdays, and we've met on Tuesday twice when they've had their meetings. So I'm still looking forward to that, and I'm not going to steal very much of Maureen's thunder on planning and zoning, but I got to fill in for her, and it was a historic night. They had to find new things to talk about to make it go 20 minutes. So Maureen, thank you for taking off that night, because I was there a whopping, I think, 22 minutes. And thank you, Planning and Zoning. I've been to many of those meetings, and some are short and some are long, and it was just a really nice way to end that little round. So thank you for letting me have that moment.
Sandra, I was on P and Z for 5 years. I can guarantee you there was never a meeting that short. How about your tenure?
Not
career,
ever.
Mark?
The long
I
one
mean,
went for 7.
Yeah, there were some killer meetings. Gene, I'll go to you.
Okay, so I've been to 2 PBAC meetings, Blue Space and Aquifer Committee, and they are working a lot on the water alternatives project. They are working on an outreach plan and a stakeholder engagement group and an intern for that group. So we should start seeing some information there. Pretty soon we're going to start having key people reach out and let us know what's going on. They also have received the LEAP report from last year, and we'll be seeing that. Hopefully, I'm going to use your COVID term, soon. They're also working on modeling, and that's modeling some of the aquifer inputs and outflows and that sort of thing with WSU students. And they are also doing a budget plan right now. So that will be coming to us soon again. Wow. All of a sudden that word has so much more meaning than usual. On Thursday, I wanted to tell you that I'll be going to the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, and I've been to probably 3 or 4 of these now. This group is such a pleasure in that they are movers and shakers. They don't waste a lot of time. We take the whole hour, but we do a lot in that time. They have designated 2 of their members that are going to be part of the housing leadership team, the regional one that is in place with Laketown and Whitman counties. They are working on they heard a report from the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust. I think it's going to come to council instead. So we'll hear more of that, maybe probably around budget time. Notice I didn't want to say soon. And then they're also working on the assessment of the fair housing and the analysis of impediments to housing in our community. And they're talking about who's going to man the tables at farmers market when we have it in the street this summer. So there's no grass growing under the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission. That's all, sir.
Good, well, thank you. Ann, how about you?
I do have an update, but I had a couple of questions actually. Gina, has PBAC talked about the LEAP analysis? Has it been delivered to you all, or is it just done?
It got delivered to Corey like last week, I think.
Great. And is there a date for the SEG formation yet? Definitive date?
The SEG has been formed, and they had their first meeting last week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have an update from one group, which is historic preservation, and it was a preliminary discussion of what Orchid Awards might look like this year, as well as interpretive signs in front of the library and one in Friendship Square, as well as some questions about the funding mechanism for all of the downtown signs. And then lastly, a fact I did not know and had always been curious about, I learned that it was in 1981 when they diverted the highway, which a lot of people credit for why we have such a great downtown. And that was fun to talk about. And that is all for me.
Thank you, Ann. Maureen?
Okay, so between Sandra and the presentation today, we pretty much covered the P and Z stuff. But I have to say, everybody said, oh, these meetings last so long. So they haven't really lasted that long. One was 20 minutes and she was there, and the other one that I went to was an hour. So it was amazingly quick, and that was when everybody had to say goodbye to Wendy being the president forever, which was a great service that she had done. The Human Rights Commission, I have to say, I did not make that meeting last week, and the issue is, though I know that on April 8th, we're going to do a presentation on restorative justice, and at this point, I'm facilitating it. We have a judge from southeastern Idaho attending. We have a principal in Idaho Falls who will in fact be talking about restorative justice in the school system, and we'll have a Native American from the Nez Perce tribe talking about restorative justice and what he's doing in that perspective. So that's my presentations.
Thank you, Maureen. Brandy?
Let's see, Arts Commission. Okay, they're working on the vinyl wrap selection, creating their selection panel. You know, it's the time of year where we get the new art on our, the
Signal
utility
boxes.
Yeah.
Signal boxes for the
Okay,
traffic.
right. So that's always really fun to see all that come out. And they have many different subcommittees working on modifications for Art Walk this year. That's something that they have in the works that we'll be hearing about when they are ready to present that. The Third Street Gallery exhibits and lighting, Palouse Plein Air, the Activities Toolbox, which has been very successful this past year with them having to cancel a lot of their events, and the Poet Laureate request for qualifications. So they are busy with lots of different projects. Parks and Rec also has a lot going on. It amazes me. This is my first time being the liaison to Parks and Rec. And they voted on their selection to replace the main play structure at the Hamilton Low Aquatic Center. It is the same one that's been there since they opened, I believe, and it has really kind of lived its life, and it's time for a new one. So they had bids for that and looked at the various options and unanimously selected one. This would not happen until the next year, so this is for 2022. It would be in that next year's budget. They also are considering and recommended a change in the location for the pickleball courts that we've been hearing about, where it was originally going to be where the old tennis courts are over by West Park School. But they found a more desirable location for access and proximity to existing restrooms. And it's adjacent to the old pool house that used to be over there. It will be lighted. That would be anticipated to be construction in this summer. They also had a great discussion this just most recent meeting last week. It's that time of year where they need to start thinking about the pool and what that season is going to look like. And it was more of a general discussion. No formal decisions were made, but it was very productive, and realizing that this very, very soon, within the next month, is when they need to come up with their recommendations or options. They'll be coming to council because this is when they need to start looking for lifeguards and so forth. So they have to make some decisions and recommendations very early in this process, which is difficult when we really don't know how things are going to be in June, July, August, but they can't wait until then.
Are they thinking of doing a tiered system, kind of like last year we started and we had one plan and then we came another plan and then we had the third plan and that was the one that ultimately got implemented? Are they thinking about that? Or Amanda did the same thing with respect to the farmer's market? It's our first plan, second plan.
Yeah, I mean, there was discussion based on, you know, if the governor has us in phase 2, then that's a limit of 10 people, and there's just not an option to operate. That was a pretty clear one. Then there were some, ideas about if it's in stage 3 or if it's in stage 4, but they are still working through what those things might look like. So I guess we'll just have to wait and hear what they come forward with. So
Can I make one more other comment? This is based on the 1912 building. I know that while they said that you could get a room named after yourself, you can also still get a a step named after you that you can put on there, and they also have windows, so there's still things.
Oh, there are many, many things you can do
But I
at the
hope
1912
those things are
Center.
there still.
Well, the 1912 will never run out of things like that, so I'm pretty confident of that, ladies and gentlemen.
and I'll tell a little more with Parks and Rec. And then David does his reports also in there, starting some plantings out at Harvest Park this spring with some shrubs and fruit and nut trees, so that's exciting. There's going to be, in addition to the apple guild that was kind of planted as a part of the Arbor Day celebration. Indian Hills restroom and van accessible parking space this spring is going to go in. New overlay on the pathway from Good Samaritan villages to the Hordeman Pond, the Paradise Path lighting project this spring. So they've got a lot going on.
Good, thank you, Brandy. February 24th, we had an airport board meeting, and one of the things that came out of our airport board meeting is we're inching along. We've got 2 flights a day. It looks like maybe Alaska's entertaining a 3rd flight for us in May, so we're hoping that that materializes, and I got a chance to talk to a representative from Alaska Airlines about that and said as we're going along, we need to keep moving forward. So we're inching along as we're going, that's good news. And on the 25th, we had a terminal discussion group, and with that terminal discussion group, the terminal is in mind. The funding for it's about 70% there, so we're making some headway. We're going to have another terminal meeting on, I think it'll be April the 1st, and where we'll have a recommendation and have something solid that we can bring to the community so the community's engagement can start. And I made a big deal. We need that sooner rather than later, so I'd like to see that happen in April. So for both these communities, Moscow as well as Pullman. So that's kind of an exciting thing that we're looking forward to. AIC legislative session, every Friday I've been spending 2 to 3 hours. And the last one, I won't go over everything because we hammered out or talked about 31 different bills, but the one I want to talk about, a couple of them, property tax 1108, which went through the House and it's in the Senate, and there's some adjustments in the Senate. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that all turns out. We should maybe know something this week. Kind of a interesting thing. Imagine Idaho broadband campaign, though. They're continuing to work on that, and that's something that in the state of Idaho we desperately need. We're fine here in Moscow, but all the outlying areas need help with this, and so hopefully this will be the year that they can come to some fruition on that. And public art, we had a kind of a strange thing where there was a bill that a person brought that if there was anything public art of more than $10,000, it had to be approved by a super majority of the people and say blah blah. That got killed, which I was happy to hear that. So it looks like that and is going to go away. There'll be more to come. I'll have another one this Friday, and so it's been interesting. I will say this: our legislators, our 2 representatives and our senator, in my view, doing a pretty doggone good job down in Boise. They hear us. We're in contact with them all the time, and they're doing a pretty doggone good job for us. And I'll just leave it at that. I will not comment on others throughout the state. I'll just leave that as it lays. Ladies and gentlemen, you can read that for yourselves in the newspaper. With that, Bill, do you have any reports for us?
Just a quick reminder, we have the monthly City County University breakfast meeting Wednesday of this week. On the 3rd.
Very good, 7 a.m.
7 a.m. Zoom this week as well.
Zoom. Well, thank you, everybody. I would entertain a motion from this council to adjourn.
Let's roll.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Say aye. Okay, we are adjourned at 8:17. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening. Thank you, journalism class.